Right, we're right in the middle of summer. It's the 15th of August. We've had temperatures in the last week of 38 degrees centigrade. Most of this past week has been like 33 to 35, and we're absolutely dying in the heat. On Thursday, we had rain 5 miles away, which was so heavy that it flooded the place, but we didn't get a single drop. If you look at the sky, it's pitch black, but I'm not sure if it's going to rain at all. So rain is badly needed, but by the same token, we've had a very hard summer because we've been watering non-stop. I reckon since the lockdown in early March, we have had no more than about 10 or 12 days of proper rain. So the rest of the time in the last 5 months, we've had a terrible summer. Terrible meaning it's too hot and it is spoiling a lot of the trees. Look at this maple, for instance. As many of you know that I believe in growing maples in the full sun because it gives it a good autumn color. But if you look closely, there is some slight burning and some of the tops are dying as well. So it's been an extremely hard year. And if we look at some of the other maples generally, so we're looking at some of these maples. These are all deschojos. Deschojos behave in different ways. This is very bright red. It stays bright red most of the year. That some of them turn green, but you see it's been burnt at the edges, but it doesn't kill the tree. It just makes it look unsightly. Now we have another batch of deschojos which came from another source. These are deschojos as well. And this is what deschojos normally do. They turn slightly green in the summer. But I want to show you this. I may have shown it to you already. With the best will in the world, some trees suffer mildew. So this white stuff, blotchy stuff, is mildew. It doesn't kill the tree, it's just annoying. And you've got to take the leaves off and probably burn the trees because the spores of the mildew does spread. But again, in very hot summers or in very damp hot summers, when you water heavily, you will get mildew on some trees, and I find that the deschojos are very bad for doing that. Other trees we grow in full sun. Look at this hornbeam, for instance. This has been grown in full sun throughout the year. No scorching at all. In fact, some of the ones which are exposed more, you see on this side, it's turning this lovely blush red color, and the side that doesn't get the sun stays green. So we call it the sunburn that affects the trees. Of course, pines and junipers don't tend to suffer so much. So the pines, they're already getting their autumn needles, which usually happens around September, October, but it's coming a bit early this year, so we got to clean this up. That Japanese white pine is very strong. I'll just take you through some of the other maples to show you the effect of the hot sun. So the sun is a blessing and a curse at the same time. That's a beautiful deshojo, but look at it how the sun has only slightly damaged the leaves, but nevertheless it's still damaged. This is very common on maples. Although this has been grown in full sun, it hasn't suffered that much, but you see the tips tend to get burnt. But this hasn't suffered badly. But the effect of the beautiful sun makes that a nice autumn color. So that turns it a nice autumn color. And I'm going to show you some more maples. We will just walk through the nursery to show you the effect of the full sun. Now this is an English yew, and yews, when they're grown in pots, they do tend to suffer this burning effect which makes it yellow. So yews, I think you should grow in shade tunnels so that you don't get so much burning. Those dawn redwoods, they're showing signs of burning. That's from the excessive sunshine. So let's take a walk and show you. Now this maple has been grown in the shade tunnel. I brought it out in the open today just to display it because it's Saturday, just to show customers. This hasn't suffered so badly. So this seems to be doing quite well, but this is because it was grown in the shade tunnel. So that shade tunnel there, if we look at the shade. When you grow maples in there, they don't tend to suffer so much. So if you can provide some shade, in very hot summers, the maples benefit from being in shade. Again, many of these maples have been badly burnt by the sun. But then the sun has ripened the color of the ginkgo, so the ginkgo is turning a nice autumn color. So autumn will probably come early this year. I want to show you a type of Chinese elm that we have got. And this one, exposed to the full sun, turns this lovely red color. So the full sun has the benefit of creating early autumn color. Now to show you the effect of the sun on even the common beech, this is our native beech. Look at how the edges have been burnt by the sun. So all in all, this has been a very difficult year. While we are passing, these are the groups that I did. This is the juniper group that I did back in December, my demonstration. Look at the berries, full of berries. Look at that. And these trees we only sell very cheaply. 10 trees for £25, £2.50 per big tree like that. What a bargain. And the other thing I also want to show you are these conker trees. Even the conker trees that grow on the street, come August, all the conker trees, even if they're grown in the street or grown in pots, they turn brown at the edges. So don't blame yourself. All conker trees behave in this way. So it is quite common for the conker tree to behave like that. Look at that. They all do this. So this is typical of the conker tree or the horse chestnut. I'm now going to take you into our back greenhouse because there are a few things to show you there. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration on what I'm going to do with these. Okay. As I said to you, this is going to be like a short magazine program of various odds and ends, because throughout this growing season, throughout the summer, I'm never ever still. I'm always doing things. And this is typical of how I let some of my trees grow. It may look unkempt, but I always let trees grow strong. And when they're strong enough, I then either restyle it or trim it back into shape. So this is badly overgrown. So let's go through the process. As I say, how do we deal with a tree like this? We trim it to its rough dome shape or beehive shape, and then I look inside the tree, and then I deal with the inside second. So let's do this first. So growing them strongly helps the tree to recover. So I don't always leave trees in pristine condition right the year round, because I like to let them get strong and then bring them back to shape. This is my way of growing bonsai. Not everyone may agree with it, but it works for me. And as I've always said, you know, this is my way, and you've got to accept it. Other people do their way, which is also right. Now, although this tree has been potted this way, I can't always control how my staff pot the trees up, but if it was me, I would repot the tree using this as the front. This is a much better front, so we're going to use this as the front. So that's how I would deal with it. I would change the front come February. Repotting time, I'm going to change the front and make it look like this from this angle. This is not the horizontalis. So I don't know what variety of cotoneaster this is, because the cotoneasters, there are many, many different varieties. It's very congested. Many people are just happy to grow it in a ball shape, but I think you should get away from just trying to achieve that. The tree can look much better if it is refined much more. So now this branch, if I want to grow it longer, I can wire it to go down there. So let me show you how I would do that. So let's get a bit of wire. Scrap wire will do. So I'm just going to link it to a short branch there and take it out. It's just to extend this. So you can always change the shapes of your trees, restyle your trees as it grows. But the main thing is to get strong growth. If you didn't have a tree growing strongly, you can't do this. So growing them strong is the first step to creating new shapes. I'm going to make that branch long, coming down, sweeping down that way. This one I can even wire down. So this variety of cotoneaster has the habit of growing straight. Extremely vigorous trees. They grow very easily from seeds or cuttings. Every little twig, if you just stick it in soil, it will grow into a plant. Unfortunately, cotoneasters don't grow in tropical countries. In India and tropical countries like that, I've seen pyracantha grow well. You mustn't confuse the cotoneaster with pyracantha. Pyracantha is completely different. Now this branch is coming from the inside of the curve, but it doesn't matter because it fills a nice space there. So that's quite acceptable. Let me just do a tiny bit of wiring there. Two and a half mils. I'm going to wire that branch. So I'm just going to link it to an existing wire branch. There are lots of snags. That means little stumpy bits. You can clean them up by doing that. So this is where the branch cutter comes in handy. This is the hybrid cutter I'm using. Hybrid cutter has the rounded edges, so it's not just a flat concave. So let's find an anchor for this branch. So that's how I've tidied this tree up. So I'll leave it, and in February I'm going to repot this tree with this as the front rather than this as the front. So that is what I've done to that one. This is the pyracantha, which I said to you is very often confused with cotoneaster. This, in fact, was a root over rock I tried to do years and years ago. And I used Ibigawa rock, and the tree did clasp the rock. But for some reason, the tree had a lot of dieback. So I had to regrow it. But you see how strongly it's grown again. I fed it heavily with lots of fertilizer, so it's come back a treat. If I turn the tree around, look at it. See how green it is. So I've now got to decide which direction this tree is going to go for the future. So although it's a root over rock, this looks very nice like this. But because this is root over rock, you don't see the rock. So when you make a root over rock, the whole object is to show the beauty of the rock. So if I'm to show it as a root over rock again, I've got to probably use this as the front so that we display the rock, or either show it like this although it just shows that you are just growing a rock or putting a rock next to the tree. You see the tree has died a bit on this side, so the roots have died. So see there was a root over here. So I would still like to show the rock, perhaps, maybe. It certainly clasps the rock. On this side it's clasping the rock. You see how it's gripping the rock over there. So that's very nice, like that. And you see a bit of the rock here too. So I'm in a dilemma now. I've got a design choice. What to do, how to make the tree look nice and restore its original character. I could put this branch at the back. You know, this is growing strongly. It's even got a few fruit on the tree. So because this is quite nice, I really should repot the tree using this as the front. So this is turned out to be an exercise on how to change the front of the tree. Now, because if I'm going to use this is blocking the view. So let's reduce it a bit and see if that improves it a bit. Okay, now you can see the rock more. I haven't cut it off completely. And then I can make this the new leader. Grow this. You see, this is not entirely dead. You see, there's a bit of growth there. There's a bit of growth there. There was a main branch there that died off. So it's become a nice stumpy tree. I really should cut the tree off there and grow it again. Let's do that. Now let's cut this off there. Create a new tree. It's partly rotten. It's such an old tree. So there you go. I'm going to have to cut those lovely berries off. I think if I bring this down like that, it will camouflage that bit. I'm lucky that I have so much material around, so although it's a business, I still really enjoy doing things like this, creating, recreating all the time. So it's a fun life. See, that's rotted away. That wasn't the original design. And that's the way the tree has turned out. So that's going to be the new apex there. Even if that dies, it doesn't matter. The tree is quite strong. I think the secret is to feed it heavily and bring the tree back to life. So now it's nice and compact, strong looking tree with the rock. And this is going to be the front, so I'm going to change the front and repot it like this. And hope that someone will buy it from us. So it's got a lot of potential. Ibigawa rock, by the way, is very hard to get nowadays. The Japanese don't use a lot of Ibigawa because it's produced by etching these bits of volcanic rock in acid, and it produces terrible fumes and smell, so people don't like doing that work. So I've changed this tree So that's number 2. And then there's another tree I came across which I want to work on. This was an air layering I did about 4 or 5 years ago, and the top died. But look at the top when it died. Look at the beautiful texture of the wood there. So that's natural driftwood without having to carve it. So let's see what we can make out of this tree. So exploiting that natural driftwood. Now because it's an air layering, the compact roots are there, and there's little oak seedling growing there. I won't bother to pull it off now. Let's see what's happening here. No, I can take it out. Make a little bonsai out of it. On our nursery we have a lot of squirrels, and the squirrels bury the nuts in our trees, and then you get all these seedlings growing all over the place, not where you want it. And as you know, the definition of a weed is a plant that's growing in the wrong location. So there you are, I can make a nice bonsai like that. So I don't waste anything. So that's going to become a bonsai. Now let's see what we're going to do with this. Now this side is not so nice, but this side I want to exploit the beauty of this. So let's create a nice triangular shape. I always believe that you can make something out of nothing. So this is a nothing tree, absolutely nothing tree. Not very interesting, but let's make it interesting. Everything has potential. Like human beings. Let's have a look at what we're going to do. I'm going to make it a conical shape, and if I create that conical shape, I can't go far wrong. So I'm going to make a dome out of that. I'm using here Teemill wire. So just to reinforce. 2, 2.5, 3 are the very, very popular sizes of wire. Never skimp on wire. Always have plenty supplies of those sizes, especially 2, 3, 3.5, and even 1.5. Grow hornbeam in pots, these leaves do reduce. If this was grown as an ordinary tree, the leaves would be gigantic if it was growing in the ground. If I have time, I'll take you to the field. There's a hornbeam growing in the pot that badly needs trimming. Let me show that. Some people ask, can you wire at any time of the year? Well, the answer is yes, you can wire at any time of the year. You don't have to wait till the leaves fall on deciduous trees. You can wire throughout the year, like I'm doing here now. This is right in the middle of summer, full of leaves. Harder to see the branches, but it's still wireable. So if this was the front, I will just do this. And this fellow here, I'm going to amazing what a bit of wire can do. It can completely change the shape of a tree. By the way, we had a first bonsai workshop for only 3 people, suitably distanced, and that's the first workshop I've done in 5 months, but we were all like 3-4 meters away from each other. So this is going to be the front of the tree, so I'm going to exploit that driftwood, and this is going to form a nice dome like this. So there's another, not very promising material made into something which can look quite nice. So it's just by manipulating the wires to make it look more interesting. And when this fills out, this will be quite nice. So we have a rounded head like that. So that is your tree. Now I'm going to just take you to finish off the afternoon by another project. So we'll go out to the field and I will show you a quick prune. Right, so this is a big beast. This is a hornbeam, and this was a field-grown tree, and in the summer when it produces all these leaves, you can't see the tree at all. But believe you me, hidden underneath here is a very promising tree. And at one point someone tried carving this, but it wasn't very successful. But the tree is nevertheless very, very interesting. In fact, it's more interesting when it doesn't have leaves on it than when it has leaves. So the first thing I do is always to create the conical shape, and then we will see what comes out of it. So where the branches are hiding the beautiful trunk, I'm going to take them out. Now you see the new leaders coming very nicely like this. Zigzag, so I can either choose it to go that way. No, this is probably let go that way. And it's got like a high twin trunk, which is a bit distracting, I think. Look at all this pruning. So there's your big hornbeam, brought back to shape. And it could go in a big plastic training pot, very informal type style. Not a classical bonsai style, but bonsai styles are only stylized trees, so they don't have to conform to that style. So this is a natural tree shape. So that is that one done. And while we are standing here, this is a sycamore. Let's have a look at this one. The humble sycamore. People never think of using sycamore. Sycamore grow like weeds, but this was a large tree stump. And you can see the tree stump. Look at it, lovely hollow. And I've just let it hollow out naturally. Okay. Now, let's just thin it a bit. Let's see what we can make out of this one. Sycamore, like horse chestnut, if you keep leaf pruning it throughout the year, you get progressively smaller leaves. So they do make nice bonsai. When I used to be with the clubs, we had many people who used the humble sycamore because it's cheap, easily available. Nothing pretentious about it. Look at that. Look at that beautiful trunk there. And that would make ever such a nice bonsai. do a leaf pruning. So I think that has got plenty character. I think that's the front, sort of leaning style. And hopefully you will see a nice bonsai next year. There's another one done. I must show you some effects of leaf pruning. So I'll go back in the greenhouse and I'll show you what I've done with some of the leaf pruning that I've done on maples. Were distressed and got burnt by the sun, but I did a little experiment. Now this tree here, some of our staff forgot to water it, so it completely had the leaves burnt, so these leaves were all burnt. But normally when the trees get burnt, you have to remove all the leaves straight away before it produces a new crop. But I did this as an experiment to see what would happen if I didn't remove the old leaves. So I didn't remove the old leaves, but you see, it still has produced a complete new crop of leaves. See, all these are new leaves that have come because the old leaves were not functioning. So that's what has happened. So you don't always have to remove all the leaves when the trees suffer from being burnt by the sun. I'm just giving a little rough prune. So because it's in this greenhouse, it's still got another 3 or 4 months of growth left, and hopefully it will have a complete new crop of leaves, and this tree will become very nice again. I have some other trees. I think there is another one which I did do a bit of leaf pruning. This is a reddish maple. The leaves did get burnt. Again, I didn't remove the old leaves, but they're still producing new leaves all over again. So they do produce new leaves. And then I will show you, we had a bad summer because of the heat, and a lot of our young seedlings got very badly burnt. But what I did was I brought them back into the greenhouse only, I would say, a month ago, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I will show you what they have done. They were unrecognizable when they got burnt, but look at them now. Look at them, all new leaves. Complete set of new leaves, and they've responded very well. And they've responded well because they're growing in shade and in very damp conditions. So all these maples that you see here, they are under the bench, growing in shade, and they're doing well. This is a particularly rare one. Look at the size of the leaves on this one. So there's so many different types of rare maples that we have. So these will eventually be used for bonsai. They're partly trained trees. And to show you yet again, this was the air layering that I separated in September 2009, which is about, I would say 10 months ago, but it has been growing ever since. I have shown it on a separate catch-up video, so this has grown beautifully. The largest air layering that I ever made. It was twice as high as this, but I had to cut it to fit the greenhouse. So this is doing extremely well, air layering. So I hope you've enjoyed this little magazine, as I call it, showing you odds and ends of what we do. So this is the life that we lead, enjoying and creating bonsai. So some of them are nice, some of them are suffering, but they will all grow. Very seldom do I get trees that die. Looking around, I keep saying that one of these days I'm going to do a video of this weeping willow. It's a Japanese weeping willow, so you will see that. Some of these dried maples have got early autumn color because they were being grown outside and scorched by the sun. So that is autumn color. But growing it in here, we'll get a new crop of green leaves again. So this is how everything is growing. So despite the hot summer, we have had a good year. So I hope you've enjoyed this video.